whatever that is.
It's a memory card.
All right. We're live. Good morning, y'all.
Good morning.
Glad to see everybody. I'm sorry I'm late this morning. We both did, all of us.
Yeah.
Between eating and trying to cut beans. We both do it.
I'm sorry.
Could be right.
Could be raining. Well, it's been wonderful. And I hate to say it, but so far it's turned out the best crop I ever had in one.
Corn too big.
Now, corn, at this point in corn, I thought it was going to be really, really good, but it won't be good. And I don't know why. I've had a whole lot of corn. I still got more than I need. Knock on wood with the beans, stay good. I ain't had as many to eat up this year as I usually do. I don't even know where I'm at this morning. Alright, we're talking about food again.
Yeah.
One more time. Everybody probably had enough food for a few days. The thing that gets me is pecan pie. I ain't got no sense about eating it. And it always gives me the indigestion when I eat it. But I love it to death, man. Instead of getting a little slice, I get like a fork of the pie and eat it, and then sit down and wonder why I'm up all night with the indigestion. But anyway, this is a little different take on the eating than what we've been talking about communion type meals, and it's related, but it's still a little bit different. But this is from Isaiah, and today I believe it's the first Sunday in Advent. So we kind of switching gears from here on to the end of the year. And Isaiah, was one of the major prophets in the Bible. And Isaiah, even though he's telling the Israelites what bad things are going to happen if they don't change, he's also telling them what good things can happen if they do change. And it's two different passages in Isaiah here. The first one, Isaiah 25, is from the time they believe it was written after the northern kingdom had been destroyed by the Assyrians, I believe, and the southern kingdom was in danger. They were kind of surrounded. Am I right on the history? The second passage in Isaiah 55, was given to the Jews during their captivity and exile in Babylon, I think. Mm-hmm. And so, but both of them kind of have the same message. And the message is that God's given us, again, an opportunity to have the book says abundant life, and I guess that's as good an adjective as I can come up with. God is saying, if y'all will just come back to me, or come to me if it's for the first time, I can make your life abundant. I can get you through the bad times. And there's a lot in here about the Israelites being separated from God, and whether it's through guilt, maybe in the first part of Isaiah, where they know they're living wrong, but it's kind of like they think, well, we done gone so far away from God, it ain't no going back. It just ain't gonna work. The second passage of Isaiah, God is saying, or Isaiah is saying, for God, he said, it don't matter, come back to me, and we can make the world better. And he's talking about the abundant feast that God's going to have. And he says he's going to prepare this for everybody. He says on this mountain, which is actually talking about Jerusalem, Mount Zion, where the temple is in the city of Jerusalem. Because that, to the Jews, is the center of their faith. Always has, always will be. So God is saying, if y'all just come back to me, he said, I'll give y'all a feast like you ain't never seen before. And he talks about, in the King James Version, it says here, a rich feast, a feast of choice wines, select foods rich in flavor and all that. And in the King James Version, it says, you don't eat the fat of the meat, which everybody knows the fat part of the meat is the best part. It's the richest part, it's the part that tastes the best. Man, it'll be good for you, but it's good too. While you're eating, he's talking about the best wines. And I'm not a wine connoisseur, but I looked it up, and he's talking about the best wines that ain't been poured off and diluted. It's the best you can have. And he says, if you ain't got no money, don't worry about it. You come and you get all this with nothing. You ain't got to have no money. And then he talks about on this mountain, he's going to swallow the veil that's covering everybody. He's going to get rid of it. He says the shroud and the veil that's enshrouding all nations and all peoples. And what it is that separation from God that the Israelites feel, and that so many of us feel today. They talk in the book a lot about this is maybe not as happy a holiday time for a lot of people. We had all this disruption to our social life, our economy. Every 2 or 3 days they make up a new name and say it's a new COVID coming out like it ain't never been adjourned before. And so everybody just feels isolated from everybody else, kind of. We can look in our church and all the other churches, and they're not full like they used to be. Or, well, we ain't never been full, but with so many people that we're used to seeing that we're not going to probably see them in church anymore. We don't see them socially. We don't have the big meals that we've been used to having, where everybody just got together and laughed and ate, talked, and had a good time. Everybody feels like, what's going to happen? Is it going to keep getting worse and worse? And so, in all of that, it's easy to say, well, maybe God just ain't even here no more. Maybe he's gone on to something else and just gave up on us. And I think the Israelites kind of felt this way. Part of that was guilt. Part of it, I think, was, for the poorer people, I think it was frustration and misery. They just figured that, well, nobody cares about us. And that God had been mad with the Israelites for a long time about not looking after their needy people. And as time went on in their kingdoms, they even, and this is after David and Solomon, when they couldn't find a strong king, so everybody ended up breaking up, and that was the beginning of the end for that kingdom. But they actually passed laws that made it easier for those in power to take things away from other people. The poor people, the widows, the orphans, the slaves, it was just getting worse and worse for them. So I'm guessing they just figured, well, it's supposed to be God's people. We don't see no sign of God helping nobody. So we just kind of given up. And I think the more powerful people probably had a lot of guilt there that was separating them from God. And God said, I'm going to lift that veil that's separating y'all from me. He said, I didn't put it there. He said, it's kind of like y'all that put it on yourself. I don't believe God ever steps back and says, I'm done with y'all. I'm abandoning y'all. Do what you want to do. and I don't care. That's not God. That's not the God I believe in. God I believe in is always hoping and never stops hoping that we'll go to Him as we should. So God says, I'm going to lift this veil, I'm going to swallow that and get rid of that. He said, and I'm going to swallow up death and remove the people's disgrace from the earth. He said, I'm going to make it all over. He said, Moab will be trampled down, which is talking about the pagan people who have been against the Israelites from the beginning. All those who hate them, God says, I'm going to get rid of all the bad. And He said, if you just, so I'm just giving you this invitation to everybody, to all of you who are thirsty, all of you who are hungry, all of you who are suffering and desperate. He said, come back to me. He said, listen to me and come to me. And He said, we'll renew the covenant I made with David, and life will go on the way it's supposed to be. So, it's kind of cool to me that these pastors were chosen for the beginning of Advent, because the beginning of Advent, as we know, is, even though it's a season of sadness and misery for a lot of people, in God's eyes, this is the sign. The Advent is a sign to us that there's hope. We're building up to the birth of Christ, who God sent to give us hope again, to say, we can make this world over. He said, the sooner y'all get on board with it, the sooner we can get it done. So, and Jesus said, and I forget where He said it, in one of the Gospels, He said, happy are those who thirst for righteousness, because they're going to be filled past being full. And what that means is, if you want God to be in your heart and your life, God is going to be there. And God is going to make, no matter what happens, the bad stuff ain't going away yet. That's going to be here till the very end time. So, but God says, I can make this where you're immune to it all. No matter what happens to you, it can't really hurt you. It may hurt you physically, but spiritually it cannot hurt you. He said you can beat death because there is something after death. But those who reject God don't have any hope, really. This is all we got right here. And if you look at the way that our time, our life on earth now, in the here and now where we're here, is all that there is, it's kind of discouraging. It ain't much to look forward to, because you look around and you see a lot of ugliness in the world. Well, God says, I can make you rise above all that ugliness. I can fill your soul with happiness, so that all of that doesn't pull you down. And you gotta have some kind of hope. If you don't have some hope that tomorrow might be a better day than today or yesterday was, it ain't no point to go on. God is that hope that we believe in. That is a reason to go on. So God says, if y'all just come to me like I've always wanted you to, He said, I can make it better. And that's what Advent is about, making it better. And while we're talking about food and stuff in these lessons, that this time of year is when a lot of churches traditionally do things for families that are in need, for people in need. We kind of step it up a little bit. We do something all year for people that's in need as we can, but this time of year, it's like it touches your heart a little bit more when you hear about people having hard times right here at Christmas time, when it's supposed to be the happiest time for everybody, especially children. We know we got a lot of children suffering. They don't have a good Christmas like all of us been used to. And it don't matter whether you get a lot of presents or not. It's the feeling of having a family, somebody around you that loves you and cares for you. That's a big part of it. So the churches always try to step those efforts up a little bit around this time of year. We don't like to see people sad and suffering as Christmas approaches. And again, the Advent season is God telling us, don't give up, keep hoping, because better is coming. I'm giving y'all an example on earth, which is Jesus Christ, of how it can be better. Someone to try to lead you back to me. God has, I can't even keep up with how many times he told the Israelites, I forgive you, come on back, and be my people like I want you to be. And here we are. This was back in Isaiah, it was back in the 500, 600, 700 BC, when all this was going on. So you're talking about, 700, 800 years before Christ came. And then 700, 800 years after all this, God said, well, people still having a hard time understanding. I'm going to send Jesus to try to lead them and show them that death and suffering can be overcome. And he's still trying. And we still resist. We still have, and I don't mean us personally, but the world still has this veil over them or shroud that keeps us in the dark kind of and separates us from God. I don't know why it stays that way, but it does. And so God's still trying. He never gives up trying. And to me, that's something that should give us hope, that God is not going, 3,000 years didn't gone by and he ain't gave up yet. Well, he's not probably likely to give up on us. So, we can hope for better. We can make things better by turning to God. If the whole world would just turn to God and acknowledge, okay, God, you're the one in charge of everything, and you're the one we're going to look to. If everybody would do that, I think a lot of troubles in the world might just go away. I know when I was in college and studied economics and political science, because you had to take something other than the courses you wanted to take. They go on this theory that it's never enough. The pie is not big enough for everybody. I'm not sure I believe that. I think that there can be enough in the world for everybody. I've always believed that, and I may be wrong, but God believes there's enough for everybody. And if everybody in the world could truly be God's people, I think we could make sure there is enough for everybody, and all this suffering and sadness that we see could eventually go away. So, that's the hope that keeps me going, that if we truly let God guide our lives, then everything will be better for us. And I've heard a lot of people say, talking a minute ago about giving at the holidays to people, and how good it makes people feel to be able to help somebody that needs help. Part of that is, I think, God's reward for doing what he'd like for us to do. I think that good feeling inside, we know we're doing what's right. We know when we're doing what ain't right, and it makes us be unsatisfied. But when we're doing what's right, we also know that. And I think it gives us a fullness inside that turkey and ham and dressing and stuff won't quite fill up. Because that'll fill you up, it goes away. But the feeling that God is inside you, keeping you going, never goes away. I think that's what Isaiah is trying to say here. Don't give up on God, because he ain't give up on y'all. And, the way the world is right now, I can see why a lot of people want to just give up on God. But I think never more than now have we needed to remember that God is out there and that He's not going to give up. And that's about all I got to say. I'm going to take a minute or two before we get too late to talk about something else. Okay. Excuse me. Carol and Fan, we always talk about and looking at other Sunday school books and stuff. Carol found one here that's printed by the same people, the International Sunday School Lesson. This one uses, it's called the King James thing. It's quarterly, it's just like this book here that we've been using. And I would like to, for any, I know a lot of us say we like King James Version better. This book is a little bit different format. It's got the verse that we study, and then it's got the Bible passage, then it's got a verse by verse commentary about what does this mean to us. And I want y'all, if you will, it don't have as much stories in it by the writers as these lessons do. It's pretty much, it's the scripture passage and then verse by verse saying this is what this means, this is what this means.
Explaining what it's really saying.
Yes.
In language that we can understand.
Yeah, and I ain't got but one copy. But I would like for y'all to look at this and over the next week or two.
Before we order
If
the
you want to
next.
vote or whatever, do you like this better? Who wants to look at it first?
See, we've already got the one next.
Yeah, we got the next.
But we need to decide before we order for the next.
Right, after the first of the year sometime, when it's spring, we got the winter. Because this is
right.
But when we order the spring one, we may, if y'all like this better, and it's just, do you like it better? So, does everybody, I'm sorry I ain't got one copy, Carolyn might have some more copies. Does anybody want to take it and look through it and see if you like it or don't like it? And I'll start here on the left.
I like
You got 32 seconds to read it and then pass it on.
How do you like it?
I like the King James Scripture. It saves me from having to go get my Bible and read it. Because that's what I understand. The newer versions, it just don't speak to me like the King James. So I like it better. I know a lot of us have said it, because that's what we was raised on.
Mm-hmm.
I like it about the same. It don't have as much discussion and talking about, like in here, the writers always write a few pages, some personal they've seen that they like. This book doesn't have that. It just has the Bible passage and then a verse by verse.
more like a Bible study.
Yes. So, and it's set up so you can use it, week by week or day by day, whichever you want to do. So, if y'all like it better, we can think about that. If you don't like it better, we stick with what we got, whatever.
I'd like to give it a try. I haven't even looked at
I just personally like King James better. Most of the young people I know that try to study the Bible, so I can't read it, don't make no sense.
a lot of them don't make sense.
Well, if you had to, I don't know what they study at school no more, because we studied Shakespeare and Chaucer and all them old English writers, and that's the language of King James
Right,
Version.
and you ask them,
So you kind of understand
who
it.
is Shakespeare? Who'd you say?
Yeah.
Who's shaking up there?
So I don't know what they teach in school now. Evidently they don't teach us what they used to. But I would just soon use that one, but I like it about the same. There's good and bad. We've looked at a bunch of different books, and all of them got something we like, something we don't like. So Carolyn's always trying to see is it something that everybody will be happy with. So just over the next few weeks, we got plenty of time for everybody to have a chance to look at it. So whoever takes it home with a date, bring it back, and somebody else will take it. If that'll work.
Right.
Just don't get no corona dust on it.
Don't take it to Africa and get the new one on it.
Yeah, they was talking on TV this morning. There's a new one coming out. They think it's worse than ever. I told Ned, I said, see what I'm saying? I said, it's never gonna stop. They gonna keep on with this.
Now you gonna have another show.
Yeah, and I'm gonna stop this before we get into discussing things that better not be broadcast. So thank you everybody for coming. It's glad to see a little bit more seats getting full. We got a few more. I'll be so happy when they come back. I like to look around and everybody's faces there.
See her smiling.
Yeah, when I'm running my mouth, it makes me
Yeah.
think, well, at least I'm doing this for some reason. Thank you everybody that does listen on Facebook, and I apologize that my lessons sometimes don't make no sense.
Sometimes it don't make sense to us either.
Sometimes it don't make sense to me when I'm talking. So I'm gonna stop it. See y'all next week, and then know how.